this invisible boundary around themselves at work? This is something that many individuals aspire to, and they always wonder and want to know, how does the leader do it? How can this leader be in front of me, but you feel like there is something that is protecting them from having a boundary not supported the way they wanted it to be? This is a very good question. And in this video, we're going to talk about how to set boundaries as a leader. And specifically, I want to show you some strategies in terms of how leaders specifically set boundaries. Now, I know you all have worked with leaders, and you may be a leader watching this video also. Hopefully, you are. There is this invisible boundary, and I want to help you to learn how you start to create it as a leader. Now, if this information sounds of interest to you, you are absolutely at the right place, friend. I'm so glad that you stopped by the channel today. And I focus heavily on advanced communication skills that will help you be able to communicate at a higher level than your peers. So, this is the best place for you to be at here on YouTube if you're trying to elevate how you communicate as a leader. Now, I have an executive coaching practice. My name is Dr. Jacinta. Welcome, welcome. And I work specifically with women in leadership in terms of my executive coaching and consulting practice. However, I have a lot of people that are not in my target audience that are part of my audience here on YouTube and different platforms. You may be a man in leadership, or you may be a woman or a man that is not a leader yet. I guarantee you that you're going to find some very information here on this channel that will help you be able to stand out amongst your peers. If you have some questions as it relates to how to set these boundaries, like a leader, or how leaders actually set this invisible boundary, then let me know in the comments below, whether you're watching live or the replay. And more than likely, if you're watching this portion of the video, you are watching the replay, friend. And welcome. I'm glad that you're here today. I appreciate you being a part of the channel this evening. Now, I will say that typically there's a point in time when people start to join the conversation. Therefore, give me just a few moments so I can say hello to everyone. Hello, hello. Hope you're doing well today. So we have J Daniel Z1Z. Welcome, friend. How you doing today? Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you all are in today. And today, friends, we are talking about boundaries. Set boundaries like a leader and learn how do leaders set this invisible boundary that you know is there, but you just can't see it. We're going to talk about that a bit today. And I also want to help you understand that if you have any questions specifically as it relates to setting up boundaries as a leader, then this is the place for you. This is a Q&A, and it's a Friday evening. Therefore, I have a little bit more time to spend with you all to help you be able to go to that next level as it relates to setting boundaries. So I want to say hello to Marina Ratis 4328. Welcome, friend. Hope you're doing well. And Marina M. Ratis said 4328 says hello from Greece. I am in the United States, friend. I am based out of the United States. I appreciate the heart emojis. J Daniel Z1Z says more people are here. Yes, they are. This is a live video. And what happens during the lives, if this is your first live, is that there's typically a lot of fluctuation in terms of people being present and people not being present. So you will see the numbers change over the lives today. And you're welcome to stay and learn as much as you can. Learn from my over 20 years of experience as a C suite executive, a director, and a manager that will help you communicate confidently and concisely under pressure. How many of you have ever struggled with boundaries? Let me know in the comments below. And first, of course, let me know where you're joining from, number one. And let me know, have you ever struggled with boundaries? Have you ever wanted to know, how do leaders make this invisible boundary that you know is there, but you just can't see it? I'll share with you some strategies today. We have ZK Yusuf Zai. Hello, friend. How you doing today? And we have, let's see, I want to say Ramesh Canon 1798. If I said your name incorrectly, friend, I'm sorry about that. They say, hello from India. How are you doing today, ma'am? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too, friend. I'm doing fantastically well, and welcome so much from joining from India. J Daniel Z1Z says, how long did this stream start? We just started just a few moments ago. We have Shoket Ahmed hyphen RE RE5BV. Welcome, friend. And you are from India. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well today. We have my new VIP. Welcome, friend. Hope you're doing well. You are from India, and I appreciate you being here, friend. And we have Ramesh Cannon 1798. I don't know if I said it correctly or not. Tell me in the chat if I'm going to say it correctly. Says my uncle lives in Chicago, Illinois. Have you ever been to Illinois? Believe it or not, I have not been to Illinois. That I've been to a lot of states here in the United States, and I have not been in Illinois. That is one place that I need to make sure that I visit at some point in time. I've lived in New York, I lived in California, I lived in Texas, North Carolina, and now in the sunshine state of Florida. We have Showcat Ahmed hyphen RE5BV. I'm doing well. J Daniel Z1Z is from the Philippines. Welcome, friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And Showcat Ahmed, well, I know the question you're asking, and I'm going to let you continue to be on the live, but we're really focusing on trying to help people really be able to learn how they can establish these boundaries. And if you've ever struggled with boundaries, let me know in the comments below. Let's talk about how we can help you set some boundaries at your workplace so that when you're transitioning into 2026, you're feeling a bit more confident and a bit more empowered to make sure you enforce those boundaries, friends. We have Ramesh Cannon 1798 says you can call me Robert. Okay, Robert. All right. Well, welcome, friend. Glad you're here today. We have Imran Ronald. Hello. Welcome, welcome. Imran Ronald says, hi, how are you? I'm doing great, friend. And Imran Ronald is from Uganda. Welcome, welcome. Jay Daniel says, may I be a mod? You may be talking about a moderator. I think you're probably talking about that. And ZK Yusuf Zai, lots of love and support from Pakistan. Well, welcome, friend. Glad you're here today. Let me know. I appreciate you all being here. And let me know what questions you have about setting up boundaries. I know if you are a leader, or maybe you're not a leader. I know this is something people struggle with. So let me know what kind of questions you have so I can help you today. Now, while I'm waiting for some responses to come in, I want to share with you the 5 boundaries, friends. These are 5 boundaries that you absolutely want to start working on and trying to develop as you are going into 2026. The first boundary, and I'll go over these quickly, and if you want me to go into more detail on these, let me know. But the first boundary you want to work on is your time boundary. Second is going to be your money boundary. Third is going to be your energy boundary. Fourth is your personal boundary. And number 5 is going to be your professional boundary. These 5 boundaries, and I put them into categories just based off the past 20 years of me being in senior leadership roles and seeing what people really do struggle with, are great boundaries for you to start thinking about how do you want this to look for you as you go into 2026. Now, before I go into how leaders create this invisible boundary that we feel it, but we just don't know how they do it, let me see what's going on in the chat. So we have Robert says, I hope you visit India one day. Believe it or not, Robert, I really do want to go visit India one day. I really do. I have a lot of individuals that I interact with from India, and it sounds like an amazing place. It sounds like there's a lot there. There's a lot of people there. I know that, but it just sounds like there's some really beautiful areas of it too. I see a lot on Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Excite Excellence as well, and I just see a lot there. I do want to visit there one day, friend. Okay, but Robert says, I hope you visit India one day. We have the best tourism, and you would definitely love to explore the beautiful places here. Always welcome you. Well, thank you, friend. I appreciate that. And if you all like this information so far, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I talk about advanced level communication skills, especially as a leader all day, every day, as much as I can. If you're new to me specifically, I typically go live Tuesday through Friday. In the morning time here in the United States, and then in the evening time here also. That's when I'm typically live. And if you have any questions, let me know. And if you have anything specific that maybe you watch some of my live videos, I have a lot of live videos that will help you negotiate your salary, maintain eye contact, control your emotions under pressure, manage your tone of voice, have difficult conversations, and etc. you're welcome to just put them in the comment section there, and I will do a video just for you to respond to you if it's something that you have a question about specifically. But yes, absolutely, really appreciate you, Robert, for mentioning that, and I do definitely want to check out India one day. Alrighty, so Jay Daniel says, "What's the mass of black hole inside?" I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, friend. Robert says, "What's your plan for Christmas?" Believe it or not, for Christmas, Robert, I'm actually going to be doing a lot more on my channel. I'm actually in a very big growth phase, sorry, of my business right now, and I'm here on YouTube. The audience is growing, and so there's a lot of things I'm actually working on for Christmas besides spending time with my kids. What are your plans for Christmas, Robert? Let me know in the comments below. So ZK Zai says, "What's the fifth one professional boundary?" So let's talk about it, and then we'll talk about how leaders create this boundary. Now, what specifically, as I mean your professional boundary, there are certain aspects of your professional life that you have to keep in mind in terms of how you're growing, what you're trying to do, and etc. So let me give you an example of a professional boundary. If you are in a professional setting and you find that individuals are maybe speaking to you in an inappropriate way, then that is crossing a professional boundary. Another example of a professional boundary that people don't really talk about, and I share this with you because many of the people that are subscribed to my channel, like many of you are or will be at some point, are truly the exceptional individuals in this world. And more than most of the time, if you're following this video or you're following my channel and you're watching the content, the titles I have are very, very specific to a specific type of person. The individuals that are exceptional, the leaders that are typically doing multiple things in their lives. Now, why I say this is a part of your professional boundary, not only if you're in a workplace setting and people are talking about things that are inappropriate, professionally, that's not good, but you want to make sure that you're keeping your reputation as positive as possible as a professional. If you find that someone is trying to tarnish your reputation or slander your name, then you absolutely want to set that boundary very quickly. Now, there's times out there, I will share with you all, that you may be in situations where the leaders themselves are not the individuals that are supportive of you. There are people that, if you had this happen to you, let me know in the comments below. There are people that will stab you in the back. There are people that will talk behind your back. There are people that will sabotage your projects and etc. These are professional boundaries that when you see those things happen, you need to make sure you're protecting yourself. And how do you do this? One of the ways, and leaders do this too, is to create a very positive image of yourself. Now, the only way you're able to do that is to know how do you want to be perceived as. And I work with specifically women in leadership as it relates to executive coaching sessions to help them figure this out. But I'm sharing this with you all because it will help you. Determine how you want to be perceived as a leader. And you need to do what you can to set your professional boundaries so that when people hear your name, so for instance, let's see, ZK Zai. If someone hears your name, immediately, what do you want them to think about? What are the first, I would say, insights or thoughts do you want people to have when they hear your name? Now, in terms of protecting your professional boundary, you want to make sure you're protecting your brand at all times. If you have someone that's giving you a hard time or not speaking positively about you, you want to have a conversation with them. If not, you want to just always be putting out great information about yourself so that when people say, "Oh, ZK Youssef side, I know that's the best person to do X, Y, and Z," then that's how you start to protect your professional boundary. Another way to protect your professional boundary, and I'm going to say hello to everyone in just a second, is to think about what are some of the tasks and maybe certifications and etc. that you are working on that perhaps may be associated with a side business that you are developing that maybe you're not at the point you want to share with everybody at your job. I'll give you an example of what happened to me specifically in a few moments in terms of how I protected my professional boundary, but I want to make sure I say hello to everyone. ZK Yusuf side, let me know if you have any other questions about the professional boundary. I will absolutely talk more about that to you in just a few moments. We have young Gerald. Welcome, friend. How you doing today? He says hair is good and done. Thank you, friend. I appreciate that. Robert says, "Good morning here at 6:15 a.m. here on Saturday." Yes, I know in India it is very early morning because I think you're about 10 and a half hours ahead of us in the United States. Kalina, hell, welcome, friend. How you doing today, Kalina? And I think we said the B was silent yesterday, so let's say Zirvanoska. I'm gonna say it that way, but Kalina, I'm glad you're back, friend. Welcome, welcome. All right, we have 16 deadly dragons. Is it ethical to go on Pokemon? I suppose it is if you like playing Pokemon, but we're talking about leadership boundaries here. TX Justin, welcome, welcome, friend. Hope you're doing well today. Robert says, I have a question. All right, Robert, let's see what your question is. Robert's question is, ma'am, I have a question. I recently got promoted as a process trainer. I need to teach the new employees and make a report of them. How can I handle and maintain? I need some ideas. Okay, Robert, let's talk about that. I can give you some insights there in how you need to teach and train your employees and make a report of them. I believe when you say make a report, you're probably talking about giving some type of an update to them, more than likely. That's what I'm assuming. So let me say hello to everybody, and then we're going to dive into your question, Robert, because that's actually a really great question. We have, let's see. Well, TX Justin, I know you want to make funny comments about my head. Sorry, this is probably not the channel for you, friend. We have a Turtle Biscuit Maid. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well. And these actually are real Gucci glasses. I'm not sure why you think my glasses are not real. 16 Deadly Dragons. Welcome, welcome. And let's see, we have someone else. Last name is, well, it looks like it's Denayo. It says, "Where are you from?" I'm from the United States of America. Young Gerald says, "I like your content." Well, thank you, friend. I appreciate that. And if you have questions, let me know. We're about to go into Robert's question here in just a few moments. And we have Kalina says, "Thank you at 16 Deadly Dragons." ZK Youssef Zai says, "What a brilliant lady." Welcome, friend. Thank you. No problem. If you have questions, let me know. I'm here to help you. And we have Mohammed Nabi hyphen J8E. Hello, friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we have Denayo, I believe. Hope you don't mind me calling you such. Well, my name is Dr. Jacinta, actually, so you're welcome to call me by that. Okay, Robert says your words are so clear and easy to understand. Thank you. I will subscribe and follow your videos. Absolutely, friend. I'm glad you're here. And Mohammed Nabi J8E says, I'm Lisa. Well, welcome, Lisa. So let's go into Robert's question that he has. And for those of you who are new and are just joining the live, feel free to let me know where you're joining from today. I'm giving any insight I can to help you as it relates to setting up these boundaries like a leader. And we're going to talk about how I can help you get there, what questions you have. We're about to go into Robert's question right now, which is about him being a process trainer and how to teach new employees and make a report of them. So let's talk about it, Robert. Now, when you are at the point when you have been promoted to a new role, there's a lot of expectations that are there. And Robert, there's some boundaries you have to set too. And when you're at the point where you are teaching new employees and you're trying to make a rapport of them, let me give you some ideas in terms of what I have done as a C-suite executive to help people when they are new employees to get some type of insight on them. Now, since you're dealing more so with process, the first thing I would say that is the best place to start, since you are a process trainer, is to go through the process yourself. This is something that happens oftentimes when we are in leadership roles like yourself, Robert, because you're a trainer, you're a leader. We sometimes there's a process that is there, and there is the reality of the process that is there. Sometimes they may be two different things. And if you've had the chance to work through the process yourself by yourself, it will tell you a lot about what the new employees might struggle with as they are starting out on their journey. I'll give you an example. Many of you may know my former role as being a C-suite executive. Well, I've worked as a dentist as well, and I've managed a lot of different offices. And I actually checked in patients myself and verified insurance myself. Even though, do I have to do that? No, I don't. But as the manager, you have to be the person that knows a lot. You have to be able to know a lot of information and know how the process works so you can identify what specifically you may want to do for your team in places that they may struggle with initially. So go through the process yourself, like literally go through it yourself, and you'll find out, oh, this doesn't work or that doesn't work. Why do I say that? One of the things that comes up for new employees when they're starting a new role, Robert, specifically, is that they are given an onboarding packet or you're trying to onboard them and we tell them do this, do that, do this and that too. And what happens is some of the things that we say may not be entirely accurate because the process has changed so much, which is why I said go through the process once so you can make sure you're helping them to do where to learn as much as they can for what you're trying to help them with. Now, if you're trying to get an idea in terms of how they are doing with their process, you may want to break it down into tasks and determine how many number of times do you need someone to do this task for them to be proficient? For instance, if it's a certain process, and Robert, you're welcome to tell me a little bit more about this, and thank you for the heart emojis, friends. If you have a process specifically, this is the process. You need to work a client through this step specifically and you've done it once. In order to demonstrate proficiency, maybe they need to do it 4 times. Well, then you want to see, have they done it 4 times? This is a way you could do that, and this is a great way that you can actually track your new employees too, because you can actually determine, I see that employee Mary has done this process 5 times, she should be proficient at this now. When I let Mary go outside of her being trained as a new employee, and let's say now Mary is at time number 6, then I'm expecting if I believe that Mary needs to do this 5 times, let's say, to be proficient, when I let her do it the 6th time, then she should be proficient to do this on her own. Now, if Mary still needs help, and I'm just an example, friend, if Mary still needs help, that's okay. Then you need to determine what else does Mary need support with. Maybe it's a certain aspect of the process that she is struggling with and everybody else is doing very well in. What is it? And what you do with those employees, if you find that maybe they're not able to get proficient to do a certain process a certain amount of times that you feel like someone should be proficient, then you want to track that. And how do you track that? Because I know you have to make a report. Keep a either Excel spreadsheet or if your company has some form of a tracker that they use to track employees' performance, this is a great way for you to do it. And then what I like to do, especially when you have new employees, we know we have our time frames, and I'm going to say hello to everybody in just a moment. We have our 30, 60, 90 days. Don't know how it is specifically in different other countries. We're here in the States, we have a 30, 60, 90 days when someone is starting. That's your probationary period where you have to basically show us that you are a good fit for this role and we're a good fit for you. And I used to check in with my employees at before 30 days. So within a week or two, I check in with them how they're doing. At 30 days, and I check in. At 60 days, I check in. At 90 days, I check in. Sometimes I check in a bit in between those time periods. It just depends on the person and what they have specifically going on. It really does vary. But you'll have to determine a couple of things. One, as I mentioned, you got to go through the process yourself. Make sure you have that down. And then two, determine what is proficiency in this process. What should this person be able to do to be proficient in this specific process? What should they be able to do? Then determine what time frame should they be able to do it. At 30 days, what do you expect this new employee to be able to do? At 60 days, what do you expect this new employee to be able to do? And at 90 days, what should this new employee be able to do? And when you meet with them, you should have some data to share with them and say, oh, by the way, Mary, or by the way, John, you have done really well. I see that you have done this task 4 or 5 times. And when we let you do this task on your own, you're able to go through the process accurately, you're doing very, very well. And that's a way for you to get a report together. Now, if you have to report it to other people, then you want to say, compile their data together and put it in whatever presentation format you want to do. And then you can present it to other people and say, by the way, Mary is doing great on this. John is doing fantastic on this. Tim might be struggling a little bit. These are a couple of things that we are planning to do with Tim to help him do better. Or Susie may be struggling on this particular process. I have a solution for her. And when you're presenting this information in that way to other people that may want to know how these new hires are doing, then you are giving them the big picture as a trainer. This is what this person is doing very, very well. This is where they are struggling at. And these are my suggestions specifically on how to help them get over these struggles. I hope that gives you some ideas to consider. I've done a lot of training. If you cannot tell, that I've done this a lot, and I know how you need to collect that data because you want to be able to provide your new employees with good feedback so they understand exactly what they need to work on and how they're progressing. Let me know, Robert, if that helps you, friend. I hope it does. And feel free to ask me any other questions as we're going through the live today. Mustafa Ali M5P, welcome, welcome. Hello, friend. How you doing today? And we have Kalina again. Robert says, thank you so much, ma'am. It will be very useful for me. I appreciate your patience and valuable time. Absolutely, Robert. No problem at all. Kalina is saying something else. Macy Sue says, Jesus loves you. Yes, absolutely. Jesus loves you too, friend. Kalina is saying something. I don't know exactly. And Robert says, ma'am, are you working in healthcare process like patient records, their insurance and claims? Robert, I know it. I have a very deep knowledge of that. So yes, I've been as a C-suite executive. I was a C-suite executive in the healthcare industry. And yes, I'm very that I know those things like the back of my hand. So if you have questions specifically, and thank you for the heart emojis, friends, as it relates to healthcare processes, patient records, or insurance and claims, yes, I can definitely give you some insight on that because I've been on multiple sides of it. I've been on the side where I know about the claim process, how the claims are sent. I have been on the payer side of it in terms of negotiating contracts with payers and etc. I've done quite a bit in that area. So if you have something specific, then feel free to let me know. Let's talk about it. Alrighty, now we talked about the 5 categories that you need to work on in terms of your boundaries as you're preparing for 2026. And one of the things while we're waiting for more questions to come in that I want to be able to give you all some insight on in terms of how leaders set boundaries and create that invisible boundary. The first area I want to mention to you, and let me know in the comments below, have you ever met a leader where you felt like you could talk to them, but you knew there were some things you just could not talk to them about? Have you ever had that happen? That's what we're talking about today. This is what I'm talking about because this is exactly how this impacts you. Now, one of the things when you think about setting boundaries like a leader, like leaders set boundaries, is they're very, very careful with what they discuss at work. And the reason why they're very careful is because they have determined that there's certain things or certain aspects of their life or their business and etc that they do not want to discuss in front of other people. There may be aspects that they want to. Therefore, when you start thinking about the boundary 4 and 5 that I mentioned, fourth boundary was your personal boundary, fifth boundary is going to be your professional boundary. You want to think about what specifically is important for you to have in your world that people need to know about you specifically? Or you may be in a project and you may be saying, what do people really need to know about this project and what do they not need to know about this project? There may be conversations or negotiations going on that have not been finalized yet. This is something that you absolutely want to consider. And that's why leaders, they set boundaries differently. When you speak with them, you know there's certain information. Thank you for the heart emojis, friends. That they are not able to discuss with you, or they will tell you as much as they can, but you can tell that there's a boundary that's there. That's how you create this invisible boundary. Be very careful with what you discuss and when you discuss it with other people. That's number one. And we'll go into some additional ways to help you be able to create that boundary as well. Okay, Robert says, I'm working too in healthcare for your country from here. Okay, great. I used to call insurance like Cigna, Humana, Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield to check for patients' authorization and claims. Yes, the authorization and claims process, it's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen specifically here in the US and I'm not sure how it is in other countries as well. But yes, if you're doing that, I'm assuming that that's what your process that you're working on too, in terms of how do they go about perhaps making those calls and finding that information out, because I know the claims process and authorization, there's so much information. I know this is a bit off topic what we're discussing, but it's a really good topic, Robert, that you brought up. So much goes into healthcare claims, costs, authorizations, and etc. Different payers, and I mean payers specifically, meaning some of the insurance groups that Robert has mentioned, such as Cigna, Humana, Aetna, BCBS is Blue Cross Blue Shield, for those of you who do not know. They have their own language. They have their own ways that they will say, we will pay for this service for you as a patient, or we will not pay this service for you as a patient. There's a certain amount that you are responsible for. There's a certain amount that your plan requires you to pay. There's certain things that we will approve depending on how often you've had this done, and etc. There's a really long comprehensive process that goes into patient authorization and claims, and I know how challenging it can be. So if you have any questions, Robert, feel free to ask me. I'd be happy to help you in any way that I can. Zahir Khan Muhammad, welcome friend. How you doing today? And we have Johnny7252. Hey, my love, I miss you so much. Where have you been? I've been here, friend. I'm here on YouTube Tuesday through Friday, twice a day. So I am here. I'm definitely here. All right, we have Kalina is sending some messages out. We have Robert says, so I am doing the night shift here to work for your country, which has daytime. Right. I love to do my job. It's improving my communication and English knowledge every day. Well, Robert, you absolutely want to subscribe to my channel, friend. I definitely invite you to do so because I focus heavily on advanced communication skills as it relates to how you're speaking. And especially if you're in the role right now and it's helping you to improve just English knowledge, this is a great place for you to be. I go over so many areas and so many aspects of communication, especially if you're on the phone, that you can use that will help to make you stand out from other people. One strategy I would share with you, especially since you're on the phone specifically, that will be able to help you as you are making this transition is to learn how to master silence. Now, I talk about this at length on my channel a lot in terms of how silence, if you can become very, very comfortable with it, will make you stand out so much as a leader and as a communicator when you are able to determine when is the right time to be silent in a conversation. Most people struggle with three things, Robert. They will struggle with public speaking, they struggle with eye contact, and they struggle with silence in a conversation. And if you can learn how to master at least one or perhaps all three of them, you automatically go to this level as you're communicating, whether you're communicating here in English or you're communicating in Hindi. So it just really just depends, but you'll gain a lot of insight here on the channel, and absolutely definitely appreciate you being here today. And appreciate your question. It's a very good question. Robert says, I am trying for an intake representative role. Okay. Who can assist with provider services. Yes, I subscribe to your channel. It will definitely be useful for me. Absolutely, friend. And if you have any questions that come up for you as you're watching the videos, then let me know in the comments below. I will do a video just for you, friend, and give you a shout out on the channel. I'll put it on my communities tab as well so that you know what's going on and when I'm giving you a shout out. So great. That sounds fantastic. Now, the process that you're working on right now, is that is that the role? So I know you were promoted. Were you promoted to that intake representative role, or is that the next role that you're going up to as it relates to your next, I would say, move in your career path? Let me know in the comments below. But I hope that you got some insight in terms of how to develop processes, especially in that type of world, claims and etc. There's a bit of volume that goes into it, and it is very, very important for the people that are working on those tasks to become proficient. And I believe you, as a trainer, have to determine and decide what does proficiency mean to you and what does proficiency mean to the organization, that these new hires know what they're doing when they're, potentially making calls or doing etc. So let me know what else or what other questions you might have as it relates to that specifically. So we talked about the invisible boundary that leaders make. And I mentioned to you, leaders are very discerning of what they talk about. And this is something that creates that invisible sense that I just don't need to go there with this person. That's a big part of it. Another part in terms of how leaders are able to set their boundaries is not only with what they say and when they say it, but their body language as well. When you're in a conversation, let me know if you've ever been in a conversation before where you can immediately pick up that this person is a leader, or you can immediately pick up this person is not the leader. Let me know in the comments below because it's happened to all of us. What are some characteristics or strategies, or I would say things that you have observed from leaders and from people that you know are not leaders? Curious to see what your thoughts are. So let me know in the comments below whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay. What are some noticeable movements or gestures that you notice from people that are leaders and people that are not? I will share you a couple in just a few moments, but let me see what's going on in the chat. Robert says, I was promoted as a process trainer here, but my dream is to work in the US as a provider service representative. I hope to achieve my dream one day. Well, awesome. That's fantastic, Robert. So let's talk about that. So let's talk about you wanting to achieve your dream one day. What do you need to do to make that happen? I'm talking to you from an executive coaching standpoint. What do you do to need to make that happen? What do you need to do to make that happen? And what can you start working on in 2026 to make your dream come true? Now, I know this is specifically for Robert, but this is really for the rest of you also, because we're going into 2026. And I want to make sure that anyone that is following my channel or subscribed to my channel, that you are setting yourself up for success this upcoming year. And in an executive coaching session, if you've never worked with a coach before in your life, coaching is the best way to help you be able to make forward movement very fast in your career. You may be wondering, well, why and how does this happen? Is it really worth investing in yourself to have an executive coach? Yes, if you're trying to make some moves, and let's say, for instance, there's a goal you're trying to accomplish. You've been working on this goal for 5 years. More than likely, when you start working with an executive coach, you're going to probably be able to obtain that goal a lot faster than you would have by yourself. There are clients that I have worked with specifically in different roles in different industries that are looking for new job positions. They may have been looking around for a year or two. And when we work together, they're able to accelerate their growth so much faster because they have that very focused time to really reflect on specifically what they really need to do. Many times, as leaders and as individuals, we struggle with our time, and time is the big boundary that you really want to focus in on in terms of the five categories I mentioned to you earlier today. But many times we just don't set that time for ourselves to reflect and to think, what do I really want to do? What do I really need to work on? How can I move forward? What's holding me back? And that is what executive coaching does. It is a very positive, very forward moving process to help you move forward quickly. If you're trying to accomplish a goal, then if you work with an executive coach that is a trained executive coach, not someone that just says they just coach people. You need to be very, very careful who you work with. And I'm saying that as an executive coach. I am a trained executive coach. But this is this is what you can expect. And if you happen to be a woman in leadership and you're in my direct target audience, then you're welcome to contact me in the description below for a strategy session. And if you are a man in leadership or a woman or a man that's not a leader just yet, then contact me here. I'll be happy to help you any way that I can and help you get to that next level. All right, Robert says developing my skills, learning new things, communication, understanding, and dedication. Now, so when we talk about developing your skills, and this is me talking to you as an executive coach, what skills do you need to develop? What skills will you need to develop that will help you be able to work in the US as a provider service representative? That's how we start moving forward in a coaching setting. What skills do you need? So we have the general big picture, okay, the things you mentioned, developing my skills, learning new things, communication, understanding, dedication. Let's get specific. What is it specifically that you feel like you need to develop in terms of your skills? What new things do you need to learn? What aspects of communication do you need to improve? What do you need to have a better understanding or a better knowledge base of? And how can you keep yourself dedicated to this process? That's how I would break it down to you in an executive coaching session. I know we're not doing that now, but this is what coaching does for you. It will change. It will help you think of things differently and determine what's the best path for me to actually get there. Robert says these things can make it happen. Any other things, ma'am? I would say when you are, and first, I just appreciate you so much for bringing this to the live today and sharing your dreams. I do not take that lightly, friend. I appreciate you so much for that. I would say let's get specific. Let's get specific. What specifically do you need to do? Because a couple of the things you mentioned are very good ways to get started, but let's take it one step further. What do you really need to do to make this happen? What do you really need to do? And I would say when you're trying to work in those type of roles, you already have a lot of experience with the claims process and prior authorization and etc. That's really important, but let's figure out what that's what I would encourage you to do, Robert. Think about what specifically, instead of general, let's be specific in terms of what does Robert need to do to make this happen? What can you do? All right, so we have Sandra Horn, PD9 FM. Welcome, friend. How you doing today? And I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. Feel free to let me know, but let me know what part of Big Beautiful World you are joining from today. Now, we've talked a little bit about the 5 boundaries you want to work on for this upcoming year as you're preparing for 2026 as a leader. I shared with you a strategy that leaders do specifically to create that invisible bubble, that invisible boundary that we feel it, but we just don't see it. I've talked to you about how being able to be very discerning in terms of how you communicate with other people is very important. What do you say? What do you not say when you're speaking to other people as a leader is very, very, very important. This is how you create that invisible boundary that we were talking about that leaders have, and you feel it, but you don't see it. Another aspect that we were just talking about before we went to Robert's question was about how leaders communicate with their body language. And what do people do that you can tell immediately that they are not leaders? How they communicate. What you may see a difference is leaders are the ones that have a very good posture. You may see them make very, very purposeful gestures in terms of how they communicate. Now, if you want to learn more about purposeful gestures, there is a video that I did here on my YouTube channel that specifically talks about purposeful gestures, and it is the presidential debate that we had here in the United States with with the vice president at the time, Kamala Harris, and now President Donald Trump. And I talked about purposeful gestures. So you want to take a look at that video if you're trying to learn some of those communication skills. I just highlighted a couple of things specifically what you might want to do. Then you want to take a look at that video because it talks a bit about that. But leaders are very deliberate in what they do and how they communicate and the way they communicate. You can tell that everything that they are doing, there's a thought process to it. Now, if you're working with someone that you can tell is not a leader, what do they normally do? They may just put their hands on their hip, or they may just have a really poor posture. They may just kind of sloop down, or just, they just don't conduct themselves as they care about their appearance and how they're being perceived in front of other people. So keep those things in mind as you are developing yourself as a leader. Okay, we have OZN3T. Welcome, friend. How you doing today? We have Randall Street. Hope you're doing well. So, Randall, I will tell you this specifically on this channel. We're actually talking about how to be able to set boundaries like a leader, or how leaders set boundaries. I am not here really to talk about truth or dare. I'm actually here trying to change people's lives. So I appreciate you stopping by. And if you have any questions specifically as it relates to really how to elevate yourself and communicate at a higher level than your peers and communicate confidently and concisely under pressure as a leader, then I welcome any questions that you have. I want to help people communicate at a higher level than their peers. And I guarantee you, Randy, you'll probably learn some really good things here as you watch some of the videos here. So Robert says, please advise. So tell me, so I know we talked about, let me make sure I didn't miss anything from you, Robert. Let's see. I would say, what what exactly, I know you said please advise. So I would just be specific. Let's think about aspects of communication. So let me give you an example. When you think about aspects of communication skills, and I want to say hello to Mahar Bob. Give me just a second. I'll take a look at your. It looks like you have a question there. So specifically, Robert, let's say for communication, if you know that you're not, maybe if you know that you become very nervous in front of people, then how can we help you to be not nervous? What's making you feel nervous? And this is something I work with my clients on in a one-on-one setting, but identifying what it is specifically about communication that you want to improve upon. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think that you might need to work on as it relates to a couple of those topics you mentioned earlier? All right, we have Mahar Bob. Welcome, friend. How you doing well today? Hope you're doing well today. Let me know what part of Big Beautiful World you are joining from. Mahar Bob, and I hope I'm saying your name correctly, friend. If I'm not, I'm sorry about that. Says, what if you're asked a question that you don't know how to answer? Oh, friend, are you really ready for this answer? This is what I do. This is what I talk about all the time. Mahar Bob, Mahara, by the way. Okay, thank you. Thank you, friend. Mahara, this, you absolutely need to subscribe to this channel, friend, because this is where I talk about how you answer questions and you do not know how to answer them. I got something special for you. One, subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of videos on how you can do that. But let me give you an example of how you answer a question that you don't know how to answer. I'm going to give it to you very, very quickly because I have several live videos here that talk about communicating under pressure, or thinking on your feet will be a good video for you to check out on my live tab. Now, to give you just a really quick, brief overview, when you are asked a question you don't know how to answer, and I'm focusing more on the professional settings in terms of your workplaces, your careers, your businesses, and etc. First, most of the time, Maher, people, you have some type of idea as to what your meeting is about if you're going into a meeting. And if you have some type of idea as to what the meeting is about, then find at least one or two talking points that you want to talk about in the meeting. Maybe specifically someone asked you a question that threw you off guard. The best response I can give to you, and this is something I do with my clients in a one-on-one executive coaching session. And Maher, I have a lot of videos I talk about this, but I want to help because it's a great question. If you are not sure of what to say, the first thing, Mahara, you need to do is you need to buy yourself time to think. You have to buy yourself time to think. Now, you may be wondering, well, how do I do that? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you just a second. Someone asks you a question, Mahara, and they say, Mahara, I need you to tell me a little bit about this particular process that you absolutely have no knowledge of at all, right? What you can say, Mahir, is you can give the question back. So I'm going to show you a visual of what I'm talking about. Someone just threw a question to me, and I say, "Oh, I do not know the answer to that. Let me give it back." And you throw the question back. So how do you do that? Ask the person if they can be more specific about the project. There's a lot going on in the project. What specifically are they looking for? That's one way to buy yourself time. Because when you give the question back to somebody, Mahir, then they're thinking, huh, how am I going to answer that question? While they're thinking, you're thinking in terms of how you want to respond. Now, if you completely do not know the answer of what they're talking about, then Mahir, let me share with you an advanced communication strategy that I learned specifically as a public speaker and interacting with congressional leaders here in the United States on the national level and on the state level here in the Sunshine State of Florida. You need to talk about what you do know. And when you have a question given to you and you don't know the response, you don't know what to say, give it back to the person. Give yourself time to think about what specifically it is that you want to say. And then when you hear clearly what they're saying and you're sure of what they're asking, then you may say this. I have more knowledge about this particular topic, whatever it is that you know about and you can confidently talk about that might be somewhat related to what they're asking you that you don't know what they're talking about. Talk about what you do know, then you can maybe touch a bit about what you are unclear about. That's how I would do it. That's how I've taught my clients to do. That's what I do in interview settings when I'm helping my clients if they're preparing for interviews or board meetings or etc. This is a great way for you to learn how to communicate at a higher level than your peers. And I share this with you because I've been public speaking for over 20 years. I've been a C-suite executive, a manager, director. I've been in the hot seat, friends. I'm not that type of leader that is an academic. I just went to college and I talk about leadership theories and models. No, I've actually been in the fire multiple times in contentious situations, which is how I'm sharing with you how you can navigate those situations where you simply just don't know what to say. So I hope that gives you some insight. As I mentioned, Maher, there's a lot of videos I have on my channel. Ones I would reference to you on my live tab. There's a couple videos I have that talk about thinking on your feet. There's videos that I have that talk about communicating under pressure. There's a lot of videos that talk about various things. I do want to mention, Mahara, if you subscribe to the channel, that you may see other videos that talk about different topics. Know that this channel, my YouTube channel, is really geared toward helping leaders communicate at that higher level. Whether you are in my direct target audience that I provide executive coaching and consulting services to, which are women in leadership, or maybe you're a man in leadership or a woman or man that's not a leader yet, you will learn a lot of information from this channel in terms of how to communicate at a higher level than your peers. And you will learn how to communicate confidently and concisely under pressure, friend. So let me know if that gives you something to work with, friend. I hope it does, Maher. I really do. All right, so Robert says, even though we are good at work, we have some colleagues who want us to lose in everything. I know, Robert. And they are around us in the workplace. How can we deal with these people, ma'am? I'm tired of these people. Okay, Robert, we're going to talk about it today. And luckily, Robert, this is definitely a good day because Friday nights I have a lot more time to really dive into these really good questions that you have. Let me say hello to Nick Palacio. Welcome, friend. We have O Obanai 11 LGURO. Welcome, friend. Hope you're doing fantastically well today. All right. So, Robert, let's talk about your question real quick, and then I'm going to go to everybody else in just a moment. Because I saw some things coming on chat. When you have colleagues at your job that want you to lose in your workplace, the some of the best guidance or suggestions I would share for you is you almost have to create yourself in a bubble. And just as we're talking about creating those invisible leadership boundaries, you have to pretty much put yourself in the bubble too. When you have those negative people around and they're in you around you in your workplace, distance yourself from them, not only in the physical sense, but also here too in your mind, because ultimately when you have people that want you to lose, they don't want you to be successful, and those are negative people. I'm very big about not being around negative people. Just for instance, when you're on my lives here, I know this is your first one, it's been pretty friendly for the most part, but there's lives where we have trolls. Okay. We have trolls that say really silly, ridiculous things. And I don't really like that for my audience. So I don't want you to have to deal with that either. When I've dealt with negative people, I distance myself from them, literally. If they are in the room, I don't necessarily go away just because they walk in, because I never want anyone to think that they control me. But when you're in a workplace setting and maybe they're talking about something that's inappropriate, or they're just talking about, oh, we're going to lose, I'm going to make you lose, or whatever it is that they do specifically, then make sure you have something else to do. You have a project you need to work on. Maybe you need to go to a different location in your building so that you can be a bit more focused on the task that you're trying to complete. There's ways for you to physically take yourself out of the situation. If you can, try to find out what those areas are to give you a little bit more room to work with. Second, in your mind, you have a bigger calling, Robert. There's a lot of things you're trying to do in your life. It comes to a point when you're elevating in your career where you recognize that you are surpassing the people that you are working with. And just keep that confidence there, friend, because it will help you be able to Deflect that nonsense that comes in. When you have people that are trying to cause you to lose, you do the best you can to win. Now, if there's someone that specifically you need to speak with as it relates to that dynamic and you're working on, let's say, a project together as a team and you feel like they're sabotaging the project, then there's other people that you definitely need to have conversations with. But that is what I would start with initially when you have those very negative people that want you to lose, is to detract yourself physically if you can. Mentally, you have to become really strong in your mind so that you don't let them deflect you and bother you, and know that you're doing the best that you can and you're going to a whole nother level while you're gonna be up here, they're gonna be down here in reality. And then if you see that they're actually sabotaging something, then that's when you want to have a conversation with somebody else for sure. All righty. So let me see what's going on in chat. Robert says your words are motivating me. Well, thank you, friend. I'm glad. I'm here to really help any way that I can. I need to listen to more to you and develop my career. I will watch and come to your live regularly. Thank you, ma'am, for your support. Absolutely, Robert. You're welcome. And if you're not able to attend, just check out the live tab on my YouTube channel, or you'll see a notification of a live, and you're welcome to watch the replay because many of my audience, they're in different time zones and different areas and different things they have going on. It's the holiday time, so many people are traveling. If you can't make it live, then don't worry, friend. I'm here to help you. Ask me any questions you have, and I will do a video for you and I'll reference you in the live whenever I go live. All right. Mahara says, "Oh, that's actually really good advice." Well, you're welcome, friend. This is what I do. This is my specialty. I People tend to come to me with the hard things, the hard situations, so I'm very comfortable doing that. All right, Mahara says, I actually work in the computer science field, so we get asked challenging coding or system design questions all the time. So I am not in IT in computer science, but I have a very deep appreciation of it because of my senior leadership role. So I understand what you're talking about there. Okay, so Mahara says, and those questions are so technical that you simply get stuck. In your case, because of the field that you are in specifically, this is something that you absolutely want to work on. One of the things, Maher, that I would say in your case is when you are going into your meetings where you're talking about coding and design changes and etc., just take a few moments before you go into your meeting and think about what are the most important topics that could potentially come up in this meeting that you could ask a question that someone could ask you about. What are some of the challenges that you're facing, or what are some of the limitations of the specific maybe design that you're working on has, so that you can address them. Try to think of what objections or what problems people may have with this system, whether it's the code of it or something in the design. If you come at it as in a way to say, what could somebody ask me about or tell me that might be challenging for me to ask? Then think of a response to those questions. Even if, Maher, you're not asked any of those questions whatsoever, that's okay. You have it in the back of your mind. So if that question happens to come up or something similar, it may not be the exact question because unfortunately we can't read people's minds, but I can teach you how to read people if you subscribe to the channel. You will be able to still ask them a question and go ahead and kind of check everything out and get an idea in terms of what you might want to say in this particular scenario. I have done this, and then also too, if there's something really amazing that is going on with the code or in the design, make sure you talk about that too. Make sure you talk about the things that are going very, very well. When you get those very challenging situations, you want to make it like a balance. So you tell me something challenging that you don't like, but I have all these amazing things that are happening that are very, very good. But we can still focus on the limitations. So you almost want to make it to where you're positive and the things that you know are a bit bigger than the small aspect that you do not know. And the best way to do this, Maher, I would tell you, is to just prepare in advance. Take a few moments and think of what are the things that people do not like about this coding system. What are they? What are the things that people do not like about this design? What are some of the challenges that people face or the questions they have that make this question so technical? Because they are technical. And you just want to take a few moments to think about what are we talking about in this meeting? What are we going to be discussing and etc. And come up and prepare responses for those objections. Maher, you may use none of them. You may never use any of them. But the fact is you're prepared. So when you go into those meetings next time and they're asking you those technical questions, because I know in the computer science, IT world, it's all those technical questions. So they're going to try to get you in some kind of way. But at least you are prepared in some type of way. All right, so Robert says, I am 630th subscriber. Well, thank you, friend. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. High five from here. Thank you for being the 630th subscriber. I appreciate that. I did not know I was at 630 until you just told me that. So thank you, friend. I will watch your previous videos. There are more videos there, but I am going to bed. I feel sleepy after the night shift. Absolutely. I will come to your next live. We'll get you some rest, friend. Robert says, have a great rest of your day, ma'am. Happy weekend. Thank you. You are so very welcome, Robert. And bye. Have a good night. I hope you have a restful weekend and don't let those people stress you out and keep working towards your goals. And we'll talk here on YouTube. All right. We have Naza Nazax Hiza. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, friend. And if I'm not, I am so sorry. But hello from Albania. Welcome, friend. How you doing today? So we've been talking about boundaries. So for those of you who have just joined, welcome. Glad you're here. I'm sharing with you how leaders set boundaries. And I'll give you just a brief overview because I know we have a few people that are here now. There's a couple boundaries that you want to focus in on as you're going into 2026, and I'm going to go over them really quickly. There's 5 boundaries I want you to start focusing in on in terms of how you need to set boundaries in these categories as leaders as you're going into 2026. Whether you are a woman in leadership, in terms of who I provide services with directly, or maybe you are a man in leadership or someone that's not a leader just yet, and you're just here to learn as much as you can about advancing your career as leader. You want to work on your time boundary, your money boundary, your energy boundary, your personal boundary, and your professional boundary. These 5 boundaries are very, 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 very important for you to start developing and thinking about what can you start doing to develop in these boundaries for 2026. As I mentioned earlier, and I know many of you are new because the live is still going, many people struggle with accomplishing those big goals in their lives because there's a boundary that they have not set. And if you're watching this video or subscribe to my channel, I want you to have the most amazing 2026 ever. And the best way to do that is to help you to really think about what's holding you back and how can we help you move forward. All right, so I want to say hello to Shirvan Kumar 15513. Welcome, friend. How you doing today? I know you've been here before, so welcome back. I'm glad that you're here. So we talked about that. We talked about how leaders set boundaries for those of you who are new. How leaders set boundaries. They set boundaries by being very discerning about what they talk about specifically. They set boundaries by being able to control their body gestures. They're very intentional with how they communicate. If you have ever seen someone that is a leader, maybe what are some things that you have seen or some gestures you've seen that leaders do that make them appear as if they're a leader? And what are some gestures that you have seen people do that make them look like they are not a leader? Let me know in the comments below because leaders are very purposeful with how they communicate. They have purposeful gestures, as we call it in public speaking. Take a look at my presidential debate video to learn more about those purposeful gestures. That is not a live video. That is actually a pre-recorded video. So you may want to check that out if you're trying to learn those. But those are a couple things that leaders do to help establish those boundaries. I have one more for you that I want to share with you, but let me see what's going on in the chat. ACGB2044. Welcome back, friend. How are you? Hello, how are you? I'll come back and listen. Hopefully, it's recorded. Yes, this live is recorded, and I will be uploading this live to YouTube as soon as the live is over. Sometimes, what happens in this world of live streaming, it takes YouTube a little bit of time in order for them to actually upload the videos. So you may see it immediately, you may see it later. It just depends, but you're more than welcome to check out the live. And I believe the last time you were here, we talked about a couple of aspects about boundaries. We've been talking heavily on boundaries this week. We probably will be talking about boundaries a lot this upcoming weeks as we go along. So let me know if you have any questions, ACGB 2044, and welcome back, friend. Glad that you are here. We have Frankerstein 9151. I'm not really quite sure what you're referring to as a Barbie doll, but welcome to the channel. ACGB 2044. Okay, thanks. Busy time for me. No problem, friend. The videos are here. They're not going anywhere. So I just appreciate you stopping by and saying hello once again. And let me know if you have any questions specifically as it relates to anything with boundaries and communication and really being able to speak and communicate confidently under pressure. As leader, I'm here and I definitely will take care of you for sure. So we talked about a couple things as it relates to how leaders set boundaries. There's one more area, one more aspect of how leaders set boundaries that people don't really think about. And this is an invisible one. This is an important one. Now, I do want to preface this by saying that this is a type of boundary. This is what leaders do. And if you really are serious about advancing to that next level in your career, this is something you want to try to work on, leaders, especially if you are in any leadership role. Now, I talk about this a lot on my channel, and I will preface this by saying that this is something I will tell you, but this is a strategy that you absolutely have to get help with. This is something you just can't wing it by yourself. You need some support from someone that's an expert in it, such as myself, to help you learn how to control what you're doing. Now, specifically, let me go into the chat really quickly because I see ACGB came back. And I want to answer your question before you go. Okay, I'll go into the other strategy to help you set your boundary as a leader in just a moment. ACGB 2044 says, yes, one question off topic. No problem, friend. How to turn down the office party you are expected to attend. I've done that many times. And I would say it depends on what time of the day the actual party is at. Thank you for the heart emojis, friends. I would just tell them that you're not able to attend. There's something going on. Maybe like as you mentioned, it's a busy time for you right now. You have a lot of things you're working on. You're trying to maybe navigate family. You may be trying to navigate your other projects you're working on. I don't know specifically what you're doing specifically, but you may say you just have something else that you have to work on. If it's after hours, it's the evening event. Okay, great. Evening events, I have turned those down. I don't know how many times. So what I typically tell them in this case is I will say, I have something going on. For me personally, I have kids. I have to take care of my kids. I'm not able to make it. And I really just really appreciate the invitation, but I'm not going to be able to make it this year, unfortunately. I hope you all have a wonderful time. Something like that. Just there has to be, you have to have something. And maybe you have nothing. Maybe you just don't want to go. I don't know what it is, but you may just say, I don't want to go to the party this year. And that's fine too. You still got other things to do. So I would just say, just tell them you really appreciate the invitation to go. Unfortunately, this year you're just not going to be able to make the event. There's something else that you already had planned ahead, and you're hoping everybody has a great time. Now, you do not need to go into detail in terms of what was planned ahead. You don't even have to say that necessarily. You can just say you're not able to make it. Depends on the people and how much detail you want to go into, which is why your personal boundary is one of those boundaries you want to work on as you're going into 2026. You do not have to tell people your business, and you definitely don't need to tell them an explanation why you're not going to an evening party. It's a party. You are going to work. That is what is required of you. If you do not go to a party, then guess what? You don't go to a party. So I would say tell them, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for inviting me. Really excited about the party, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make the party this year. I really hope you all have an amazing time. If they're doing Secret Santa or something like that, then make sure you participate maybe in advance. But other than that, I would just tell them you're not able to make it. And I hope that my structure that I gave to you gives you that confidence you need to do it, because sometimes people really do struggle with that, especially at holiday parties. It's like oftentimes people feel like, oh no, I shouldn't say I can't go to the holiday party. People are going to look at me differently. And there's this fear that we have to say it. But if you really legitimately have something else to do, and obviously you do not want to go, then tell them, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to make it. You're not going to be able to make it. That's what I would do. I've done that many times in the past. and I will be actually doing that here very soon. All right, so we have Chandra Paul Tomar hyphen U5Q. Welcome, friend. How you doing? Well, hope you're doing well today. ACGB 2044 says, okay, but if management expects you to attend being a team player and all, I guess it's looked at a work event helping to entertain other invited guests. Okay, well, if you can't go, friend, you can't go. There's no other way I can say it to you. I've done that, and actually, believe it or not, I've done that as a senior leader many times. And I actually managed departments, managed people, and was expected to go to these type of management events. And I was not a manager; I was actually a leader, and I didn't go. I didn't go. If I had something else going on, I just simply didn't go. And you can call me Alex. Okay, Alex. Okay, so I'll remember that next time. But Alex, I would just say if you can't make it, you have something else to go, then you can't go. It just depends. I know sometimes we think, oh my gosh, if I don't go, my manager's gonna be upset. Alex, you have a life, friend. You have a life. You have other things that you're probably doing and wanting to do. If you can't make it, you can't make it. And guess what? The good thing is there's other people that will be there. Just tell them, thank you for inviting me to the party. Unfortunately, this year I'm not going to be able to make it. I really hope you all have a great time and just don't say nothing else. Because the more you say, then the more you give them, and then they start thinking things, etc. Unless you feel like you're in a good position to have that conversation and go into more detail. But I think less is more in those situations. And sometimes, Alex, you just have to make that decision, friend, if you really want to go or if you really, really don't. It really, really, really just depends. Sometimes you just don't wanna go. I've done that, and I'm telling you, I've done that as a leader. Now, I will tell you this, did people look at me differently or say, "Oh, well, why didn't Dr. Jacinta go to this meeting?" They did. They did look at me differently and say that. But you know what? I came to work and I did my job. That's all I really need to do. Do I have to go to an afternoon, evening party? No. Am I doing my job to the best of my ability and making money for the company? Yes. So then what else do you have to say? That's just my very humble opinion. I've been in those situations. I know how you're feeling right now, Alex, but just keep in mind if you got something else you need to do, go do it, friend. You have a lot. You said just a busy time for you right now. ACGB 2044, Alex, sorry, says, okay, thank you. You are awesome. No problem, friend. If you have any other questions like that, let me know. I'm here for the hard things, the hard questions, the challenges, the things that you're just like, oh, I don't know what to say. I will help you figure out something to say for sure. So, absolutely. I wish you all the best. Let me know what happens. Let me know. I hope you do not go to your party if you don't feel like going to your party, friend. Don't make people make you do stuff that you don't want to do. And sometimes that happens during the holidays. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever felt like that, like Alex in the holidays, when you have these holiday parties and your manager expects you to go, they think you're supposed to go, and you really don't want to go. Yes, it happens. It does happen. All right. So absolutely, Alex, just let me know. Keep me posted. And even if you're not able to join the live or depending on when I go live, just let me know in the comments below. You're always welcome to contact me at Dr. Jacinta Lamontai at LinkedIn, at Excite Excellence at LinkedIn, and at Excite Excellence on Instagram. You can always send me a DM and let me know because I'm curious. I hope you don't go to your party though. And don't feel bad about it either. We have lives. Sometimes you just don't need to go. All right, so we have Jaya-G4R. Welcome, friend. How you doing today? Let me know what part of the big beautiful world you are joining from today. We have been talking about boundaries, and if you've ever struggled with setting boundaries and you want to learn how leaders make these invisible boundaries and etc., let me know. Okay, so is it Jaya? Am I saying that correctly? Let me know if I'm saying that correctly. I know you got it in capital letters, so I must have gotten something incorrect. So let me know, is it Jaya? I'm thinking is that how you pronounce it? Let me know. Let me know in the comments below, friend. We talked about a couple things and okay, Jaya says yes. That's actually very pretty, by the way. I've not heard that name before. So, Jaya, welcome, friend. Hope you're doing well. Let me know what question you have about setting boundaries as a leader. The the other strategy I was going to share with you all as it relates to leadership and setting that invisible boundary that you feel when you interact with the leader is we talked about your body language, how leaders are typically more upright. They're not the individuals that are like slouched over and just looking sloppy. They typically take care of their appearance, but this boundary I'm going to share with you is a secret boundary that you absolutely want to start working on. And this is going to be the last one I share with y'all today. Are you ready? Leaders create that invisible boundary that you feel, and you feel it there, but you just don't see it by their facial expressions. Now, I'm sharing with you all some strategies from the C suite. I have been a C suite executive and a director and a manager for over 20 years. And if you like this information so far and you're learning something from it, then you absolutely want to subscribe to my channel, friend. But leaders do this for being very, very interesting people because they specifically control their facial expressions. When you talk to leaders, they are very polite, but that politeness goes to a straight face very fast. Have you ever seen that before as a leader? This is how they create that invisible boundary. Many people, as I mentioned earlier in the live, and then I'll get to Jaya in just a second because it looks like there's something there. What they typically do is they struggle with public speaking, they struggle with eye contact, and they struggle with silence in a conversation. And another part that people struggle with is their facial expressions. Some people just make their facial expression in terms of how they feel, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. There's certain times you need to do that. But leaders are a bit more composed. You just don't know what they're thinking sometimes. And that is a way that you can create that invisible boundary that people don't see, but they feel it. Because if you can make sure that you're communicating and understand how you are communicating, and this is what I do with my executive coaching clients that are women in leadership, this is what we do to try to help them be able to communicate at a higher level than their peers. You have to know exactly how you are communicating, not only verbally, but also with your facial expressions as well. So to make sure you want to try to work on that if you're trying to set boundaries and set them like a leader. All right. So Jaya says, I have a question for you. How to not be a Are you saying how to not be an all over parent? Tell me a little bit about what specifically you're asking about, and I will be more than happy to give you some insight there, Jaya. Let me know what you are referring to. I believe you're saying how to not be, I think, not an all over parent. I believe. Let me know, friend. Let me know what you think specifically about if that's what you're trying to say. So we talked about those different skills. Okay, so let's see. And how to not be all over on parents. Do you mean not interacting with parents? Is that what you're referring to? I'll wait for you to respond there. Because not you're saying how to not be all over parents. Do you mean not interact with them? Or tell me a little bit more. Tell me just a little bit more about what's going on, what you're referring to. While I'm waiting for that, one of the things that you absolutely want to start working on as a leader to develop yourself as a leader are the things that I mentioned to you earlier. These strategies are the strategies that create that very invisible boundary that people tend to feel when they are around leaders. When you all interact with leaders of your organization, your company, and your businesses, you just feel it, right? You feel that there's something different about them in terms of how they communicate, how they talk, and etc. And I'm sharing with you over 20 years worth of experience as being in these very senior leadership level roles of strategies that will help you start to set boundaries like a leader. All right, we have Ginger Bakey. Welcome, friend. Hope you're doing well today. I don't know what you are saying specifically, but glad you're here today. Let me know how I can give you some insight in terms of how to set boundaries like a leader. Now, there's a couple things for those of you who are new to me. I go live Tuesday through Friday. I'm based out of the United States, and I go live in the morning, and I go live in the evening. Also, I'm on the Eastern Standard Time Zone. So that's I want to give you some insight there. And if you're trying to elevate how you communicate as a leader, or you are a woman in leadership that is trying to elevate yourself and go to that next level in your career, and you want to learn how to communicate confidently and concisely under pressure, this is the best channel for you on YouTube. I will say that very confidently. Ginger Bakey says, "Oh, what are we talking? What are you talking about today?" And sorry about your English. Well, Ginger Bakey, I understood what you were saying, so it's okay, friend. Now, I will say this, Ginger, we are talking about how leaders set boundaries. And I talked about very advanced level communication skills in terms of how leaders set that invisible boundary that you can feel, but sometimes you just can't actually see it. And so, Ginger, to give you a really quick recap, very quickly, on the things that we discussed, first of all, there's 5 boundaries I want you to work on for 2026. Your time boundary, your money boundary, your energy boundary, your personal boundary, and your professional boundary. Work on these boundaries for 2026 so that you're able to accomplish some of the goals you're trying to accomplish this upcoming year. Now, what you can do, and I'll go through these quickly, friend. And if you want to watch the replay, you're more than welcome to do so. I know it's a longer live today, but I'm here on the evenings. So Friday evenings are the time when I have more time to talk and answer any questions. But I do want to say this. There's 3 ways you can set that invisible boundary. So, okay, hold on just a second. Ginger, okay, Jaya says hi. So Jaya, yes, absolutely. Just let me know what specifically you're talking about as it relates to parents. I'll be live here for a few more moments, and I do want to be able to help you any way that I can. Ginger Bakey says, I'm not an adult, so I don't understand. Okay, so Ginger Bakey specifically, we're talking about how you can become a leader and how people can look at you and think that you're a leader. That's what we're focusing in on the channel specifically for today. So if you want to learn these very advanced level leadership skills, and how to really set yourself apart as a leader, then let me know and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more information about that. As I mentioned, I go live Tuesday through Friday, and this is some leader. Okay, Ginger Baker says a leader in Canada, a leader in general. So when you think about leaders, you may think about people at your school, you may think about your teachers, your principals, your professors, you may think about your community leaders, you may think about your presidents of your countries or your prime ministers or your leaders or whatever they're called specifically in your countries. Leaders are the people that are leading other people, that are leading them to do better and working with other people to help them make a better place. So that's what I'm referring to as it relates specifically to leaders, if that makes sense. So I go live here Tuesday through Friday, as I mentioned. And if you have any questions specifically, you're always welcome to reach out to me at the platforms I mentioned earlier. And you're always welcome to put a comment in the description below. If you want to have me answer a question for you or do a video just for you, I will absolutely do one for you, friend. Just let me know in the comments below what questions you have specifically as it relates about communication and elevating yourself in leadership. Those are the topics I focus heavily on my channel. This is the communication channel. I will help you communicate at a higher level than your peers. And I appreciate you all so much for joining my live today and being a part of another very, very successful week here. All right, so Ginger Bakey says, "Oh, so you're saying I could be a leader in my school?" Of course, Ginger Bakey, you can be a leader in your school. And what we talk about here is it's friendly enough to where you will learn those skills that make you like a leader. Now, what I'm sharing with you is probably a bit more advanced based on what you mentioned in your comment, but you can always be a leader in your school. The best way to be a leader in your school is be that person that's very helpful to other people and make sure you study very well so you can do your grades and etc. All right, we have Mohammed Ahmad hyphen GU8WE. Welcome, friend. How you doing today? And Ginger Bakey says, okay, just I'll go bye. Have a good night, a good day or night. Okay, well, thank you, friend. I appreciate that. D Mars 9284. Welcome back, friend. How you doing today? Good to see you again, friend. All right, we have Rahul Sikdar 451. Hope you are doing well today, and I hope I said your name right, friend. Let me know if I did not. Uh Rahul says like and subscribe down. Well, thank you, friend. I appreciate you being here. All right, we have Mohammed Ahmad hyphen GU8WE. How are you? I'm doing well, friend. Thank you so much for asking. Ruhal Sikdar 451 says, I'm watching from India. Well, welcome, friend. Glad you're doing well today. And thank you for representing India today. We had a lot of conversations actually earlier in the live. We've been live for how long now? 83 minutes. So we've been live for almost an hour and a half and had a lot of people joining from India earlier. We were talking about India, tourism, and a couple other things. So welcome, friend. Welcome, welcome. I know India time right now It is early morning for you right now, I believe, because it's 9 o'clock here on the Eastern Standard Time Zone in the United States. Okay, Mohammed Ahmad GU8WE says, you can read very well, beautiful. Well, thank you, friend. I appreciate that. And let me know what questions you all have about setting boundaries. That's what we've been focusing in on for almost an hour and a half now. Let me know. Or if you have questions specifically as it relates to how to manage really difficult situations and in conversations, maybe you are a leader. Maybe you are my direct audience as a woman in leadership that I work with in terms of executive coaching and consulting. Or maybe you're a man in leadership, or maybe you're not a leader yet. Let me know what questions you have about trying to elevate how you communicate so you can stand out from everybody else or manage any difficult situations that you may have. Okay, so Rahul Sikdar 451 says, where are you from? So I'm originally from North Carolina and I am in the sunshine state of Florida in the United States. Okay, so Mohammed Imad says, I was honored to join your live stream. Well, welcome, friend. I'm glad that you are here, and I appreciate you being here, being a part of the live stream today. Let me know what questions you all have, especially as it relates to communications and being able to go to that next level. This is a very heavily communication focused type of live stream. I live stream so much, you all, that YouTube knows I live stream, and they actually invite me to be a part of their live stream and research panel in May of this year. So I'll be on their panel for a year because this is what I do. I live stream with my audience and we have an amazing time. So let me know what questions you have. I really focus on that professional and personal development, heavily for professional development, because I know many of the people that are watching my videos are struggling with different aspects of communication. We just had a great conversation earlier today about what do you say when you do not know the answer. Very good conversation we had earlier today. You definitely want to watch the live or the replay as we talk about that. And we've also talked about how you can help your employees train better and report on them and provide them with guidance. How can you set up a new employee onboarding process? All of those things we talk about here on the channel. So we talk about a lot about communication, but we also talk about those advanced level type of skills that we often just don't know how to do. You do not know how to do, you may not know what to say, when to say it, how to manage it. We talk about a lot of very great information and great topics here. And I appreciate all of you so much as my subscribers for just being here and sharing your insights, sharing your challenges. I do not take those lightly. I want to help you as best I can. If there's something I do not know, then I will not, I'll tell you I do not know. But I appreciate you all so much for being here. Okay, Rahul Sikdar 451 says, I don't know your language. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I have a couple people. You want me to talk a little slower? Okay, no problem. No problem. I can do that. There's a few people here on the lives that are trying to learn English and they're trying to just learn the English language more. And I would say, Rahul, I know you subscribe to the channel and I appreciate you, friend, for being here. It'll be a great opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about how we communicate specifically if you're trying to learn more. I do speak English. I speak a small amount of Spanish and just like a tad of French. But I would say definitely if you're trying to learn more, then you're welcome to subscribe. This is a very communication focused channel. And I think if you're at the point where you're trying to advance more and learn more, then this is the absolute best place for you to be, friend. And I'm glad that you're here. All right. Well, I appreciate you all so much for being here today. If you have any questions, I'm here to support you any way that I can. And I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic weekend. I will see you all back next Tuesday when we go back live in the morning. Until then, have an amazing day. Feel free to take a look at some of the videos on my live tab that will help you be able to accelerate your growth as a leader. And I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.